Mark Grayson has some of the most interesting and satisfying arcs in superhero history. From normal child to altruistic superhero, Mark Grayson is the staple and the pinnacle of what it is to be a superhuman. Born on Earth as a half-breed from Viltrumite to human DNA, he grew up rather normal, with Nolan Grayson, aka Omni-Man, being his father. You can only really guess how it went from there after he gained his powers. Viltrumite culture is defined by violence, Darwinism, and survivability. There is absolutely no room for empathy. And as we've seen in Season 4, if you haven't seen it yet, spoilers ahead, we see that Nolan was pretty much raised in the midst of violence and absolute and total chaos within his own empire. I've read the comics, so I kind of know what's going to happen in the future, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody who just wants to watch the show and is not really interested in comics. You should know that the people that you see in the TV show that are supposed to be his parents aren't actually his parents. And I'll let the show answer that for you, or if you already know, you know. But essentially, Nolan grew up without his real parents, and his mom, as we saw in the show, wasn't very nice, and his dad was really the only one that stuck up for him. Really, nobody's nice in the Viltrum Empire. That's why Nolan is the way he is. The only time that we see Viltrumites really change is when they come to Earth and they spend time with humanity. But anyway, I digress. This video is about why I believe Mark to have one of the most satisfying arcs in superhero history. You see, when Mark gained his powers, he wasn't really expecting to be thrust in such traumatic, horrifying, and grotesque situations as much as he is throughout the first, second, third, and fourth seasons. He figured it was just, all daisies and roses. I guess he didn't expect, he was a naive child, so he didn't expect that being a superhero, yes, comes with being a badass, comes with having the image, comes with being treated as a god, but it also comes with immense responsibility. It comes with immense violence. It comes with being a protector, an executioner, and trying to justify it. And what I believe that Mark finally really got, that lesson was when he had to fight his dad, because he didn't expect that his dad was an alien from a tyrannical oligarchy fucking millions and millions of light years away here to take over Earth. His father was only protecting Earth and had basically his team of superheroes protecting Earth only until Mark gained his powers, and then that's when he was going to take over Earth, when he knew that humans were genetically compatible with Viltrumites. I mean, imagine if your father said this to you.
Did seeing that man lose his life disturb you? Did it hurt? Well, let's see how you handle this. You want to die for this planet? Fine! What's 17 more years? I can always start again. Make another kid. You aren't listening, Mark. My time here has been a speck in the span of my life. You don't know me. I will burn this planet down before I spend another minute living among these animals.
Or imagine if, when you did find out that you're half alien, half human, even though they look basically interchangeable, that's why humans are the closest to a Viltrumite you'll ever get, just minus the powers. Just imagine your father is like, I look at your mom as a pet.
But she's more like a pet to me.
A pet?
This is the only way, Mark.
Don't touch
And it's only because Mark is a teenage boy and he hasn't lived fucking thousands and thousands of years like Nolan has, or like, any other Viltrumite does. And so that's why I believe that Mark's arc is extremely satisfying, is because he goes from like a naive child to basically thrust into a world that he didn't expect to be so violent, bloody, and horrific. And when he finally found out about the real world, he kind of changed down to his core. Like, he didn't change for the bad. A little bit he did, but he didn't really change, like, fundamentally until the Invincible War. And Angstrom Levy really showed him what he's capable of when him and his father team up, or whatever happens in other universes. I believe Mark, through all this trauma and bloodiness and horror and violence, he's going to become more altruistic. He's basically going to understand both sides of the coin, because as we've seen in Season 3 and Season 4, Mark is really struggling with the inner demon in himself. He's really struggling with the inner Omni-Man, you know, who should I kill, who should I not kill, who should I be angry at, who should I not be angry at, instead of just going by, well, this is what's right and this is what's wrong. And that's what makes Mark's arc so satisfying, is he's not like every other superhero where they just typically just save people and get the bad guy and then on to the next one. No, Mark is really struggling with the inner demon within himself. He's really struggling with the inner executioner who wants to go and kill all of the horrible, horrendous people. But, you know, sometimes that'll make you just as bad as the person you're going after. And I know, since you guys probably clicked on the video, that you probably heard it billions and billions of times by now, but the Conquest and Invincible fight, I believe, was a cornerstone in changing Mark into who he really is supposed to become, because he doesn't really understand how vulnerable he is, how vulnerable Adam Eve is, until the Viltrumites come. Because Mark just, yeah, he lose the fight here and there, but Mark just kept getting stronger and stronger because he has the adrenal glands. He has adrenaline, like humans do. Viltrumites don't have adrenal glands, right? So my whole theory, there's a theory out there called the adrenaline theory, that Mark can get stronger than normal Viltrumite because he is half human, providing him with the adrenal glands and the survival mechanisms that humans do. I mean, it only makes sense. He didn't gain his powers until he was basically a grown man. So he grew up as a human being all the way up until he was in the middle of puberty. So it only makes sense that he has adrenal glands. Plus, it's almost referenced like a billion times, especially in the Conquest fight. Being angry doesn't help you.
Getting mad doesn't make you stronger. That's not how it works.
And then Mark will do a primal scream, and then he'll absolutely start fucking shit up. So I'm pretty safe to say that Conquest, who's easily a couple thousand years older than Mark and has a couple thousand years more of experience and fighting and technique and all that, he would have absolutely dog-walked, mogged Mark if he wasn't able to tap into that survivor mechanism that human beings have, the resilience, the robustness, to basically break his arms bones out of his body and stab Conquest over and over and over again. I don't believe any other Viltrumite would have been able to do that, as quite literally the third most Viltrumite, Conquest, was absolutely dog-walked by Mark. So that's another reason why I believe Invincible, which that's actually a pretty fitting name, because he loses a lot, but then he gets stronger afterward. And it's not just because he has the adrenal glands or the survivor mechanisms that human beings do, it's also coupled with his Viltrumite DNA, which is the most purest DNA in that universe's lore. Mark's arc is defined by a superhero who has lost everything, but also gained everything. And he doesn't know how to react to a world that could take it all away from him in a second, but he also wants to save the world. And I think that that's such a beautiful, interesting arc, that he's struggling with the inner judge executioner, and he's struggling with the inner protector, he's struggling with his inner demons. I mean, it's really defined, especially when he takes on the Sequids in Season 4, and he grabs that dude and he starts choking him. And then by the end of the season, he ends up punching a fucking hole in the middle of the Sequid's face. So he made the choice to execute instead of just let him be. You know what I mean? And this is going to be a recurring theme in the future seasons of Invincible. I don't want to ruin it for anybody because I can clearly see they're going right off the comics. They're just going to chop it up a little bit for movie or TV show context. So they're basically following the comic line, which I'm okay with. So if it's going that way, then you guys will be very surprised if you don't know if you don't know the comics, what's going to happen in the future. Anyway, I do truly believe that there's a lot of superheroes that could learn from not only Mark Grayson, but the Invincible comics in general. Like, to me, They take all of the great aspects of Marvel, DC, and every comic line and put it into one, but they don't try to make each superhero like pure. Everybody has their own flaw, everybody has their own strengths, and that's exactly what Invincible, the TV show, and Invincible, the comic line, strike true, even with their heroes, like Dinosaurus. Yes, he's a scientist and then turns into a dinosaur and doesn't really mean to cause harm, right? But the Dinosaurus thinks that human beings are a disease and that we need to be wiped off the planet Earth, and he doesn't care if we all get killed or explode. He really wants to be a hero, yet he's a playboy, he's a fuckboy, he wants to have hoes. Even down to like government conspiracy, like all that. Like the show and the books really like try to incorporate everything without giving you too much for your brain to handle. Like within the Invincible universe, it's like, I'm not going to try and compare it to The Boys because Invincible is not really like The Boys, but it's like it in the way that there's government conspiracy and there's government involvement within superheroes. And I really love Cecil's character, and I would like to do a video specifically on Cecil because I believe that Cecil and Mark are the exact same character. They pretty much had the exact same choices morally, just they're on two opposite sides of the spectrum. Kind of like Batman and Joker. Like Cecil's is on the cold and calculated agent spectrum, and Invincible is on the too much. He's too caring, too loving, and too sensitive. And sometimes that gets to his head, and he feels like he needs to just murder whatever's in sight. Doesn't even care how brutally. And I love how they ring true on a lot of true aspects within the human psyche. Like, everybody can be good and everybody can be bad. Everybody has a good trait and everybody has a bad trait. Anyway, I'm done yapping. Deuces.
Starting tonight, I'm a man of my word.